Hello everyone, I hope you all have watched my previous video in which I have discussed about the discovery of a microscope, the shape and size of a cell, and how an organism is differentiated into a unicellular and multicellular organism. Today we will be discussing about the different parts of a cell. I will draw a simple diagram so that it is easy for you to understand. Now, in a house also, there are different rooms. How are the rooms differentiated from one another or demarcated from one another? We have a wall in between two rooms. Similarly, the cell is also surrounded by a wall-like structure called the cell membrane. So the cell membrane is like a wall, okay? It protects the cell. Now, the cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. What do you mean by the term semi-permeable? Semi means half and permeable means to allow some substances to pass through it. So cell membrane allows only some substances to pass through it. Hence it is called a semi-permeable membrane. It first protects the cell. Next, it allows only some substances to pass through it. Now, this cell membrane is present in both plant and animal cell. So you find the cell membrane in both plant cell and animal cell. It protects the cell. Number two, it allows only some substances to pass through it. Hence it is called a semi-permeable membrane. Now, in a plant cell, there is an additional membrane or wall outside the cell membrane. So only in a plant cell, outside the cell membrane, you will find another membrane which is called the cell wall. Like the cell membrane, it also protects the cell. Now the cell membrane was a semi-permeable membrane, whereas cell wall is a freely permeable membrane. This means it allows everything to pass through it, whereas semi-permeable allows only some substances to pass through it. Now the cell wall, I have told you it is found only in the plant cell. Now the cell wall is composed of a substance called cellulose. It is composed of a substance called cellulose. Cellulose is a non-living substance. Cellulose is a non-living substance, hence the cell wall is also non-living. So this part of the plant cell, that is the cell wall, is non-living. The cell membrane is a living membrane. Okay, so once more, both plant cell and animal cell have a wall which protects it, or a membrane that protects it. This is called the cell membrane. It is a semi-permeable membrane, which means it allows only some substances to pass through it, and it is a living membrane. In the plant cell, there is another membrane found outside the cell membrane. Remember, only in a plant cell. It is called the cell wall. It is a freely permeable membrane, which means it allows everything to pass through it. It is composed of cellulose, which is a non-living substance. Hence, the cell wall is non-living. Now, inside the cell membrane, we find a jelly-like substance. Now everyone has eaten jelly. So we find a jelly-like substance inside the cell membrane. It is filled with this jelly-like substance. It is called cytoplasm. It is called cytoplasm. Now, inside of the cell, now we have already done, cell is the structural and functional unit of life. That means various functions are occurring inside the cell. Okay, so the cytoplasm is the place where various reactions take place. Okay, and it is here in the cytoplasm that we find many other cell organelles. Now, cell organelles are the various small parts that you find inside the cell. So, cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance which fills the cell. All the chemical reactions occurs in the cytoplasm, and this is also living. And you find the cytoplasm both in the plant and animal cell. Now, more or less at the center of the cytoplasm, you find the most important structure, that is the nucleus. That is called the nucleus. Now, the nucleus also has a membrane which surrounds it. The membrane that surrounds the nucleus is called nuclear membrane. So the membrane that surrounds the nucleus is called nuclear membrane. Now, inside this nuclear membrane, we find another jelly-like substance which is called nucleoplasm. So the nucleus is surrounded by the nuclear membrane. It is filled by a jelly-like substance called nucleoplasm. And then you find a nucleolus. And there is a structure inside the nucleus which is called the nucleolus. Now, why is this nucleus very important? Now, inside the nucleus, there are many thread-like structures which are called chromatin fiber. So inside the nucleus, there are many thread-like structures called the chromatin fiber. Now these chromatin fiber, during a cell, now you were very small. Now how did you become this tall, or how are you your size right now? Now every day the cell is dividing. Okay, so that is called cell division. So during cell division, this chromatin fiber becomes the chromosome. So during cell division, the chromatin fiber, they become chromosomes. Now chromosomes carry genes. Okay? Now whenever you meet someone, your relative, they tell you look like your father, or they tell you look like your mother, or your grandfather, or your grandmother. So how is that you look like your father, or your mother, or your grandfather, or grandmother is? It is carried through genes. So where is the genes present? It is present in the chromatin fiber. And where is the chromatin fiber present? Inside the nucleus. Okay, so nucleus is actually called the brain of the cell. It controls the entire cell, okay, and it helps in cell division and next in carrying hereditary information from parent to offsprings. Now, offsprings here means children. So in biology, we don't use the word children, we use the word offsprings. So once more, the cell is surrounded by a membrane which is called cell membrane. It provides protection and it is a semi-permeable membrane That means it allows only some substances to pass through it. It is a living membrane. In a plant cell, besides the cell membrane, we find another membrane called the cell wall. It is a freely permeable membrane. That means it allows everything to pass through it. It is composed of a non-living substance called cellulose. Hence, the cell wall is a non-living membrane. Inside the cell membrane, you find the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance in which most of the chemical reactions take place, and you find a number of cell organelles in the cytoplasm. In the center of the cytoplasm, you find the nucleus. The nucleus is called the brain of the cell. It is the most important part of the cell. The nucleus is surrounded by a nuclear membrane. It is filled by a jelly-like substance called nucleoplasm, and there is a structure called nucleolus. The nucleus is filled with chromatin fiber. During cell division, the chromatin fiber becomes the chromosomes, and they contain genes. Genes carry hereditary information from your parents to you. That means from parents to offspring. So I hope you understood this. In the next class, we will be discussing about the different parts, other cell organelles of the cell. Thank you everyone. Keep watching my videos.